lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the pit completely. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eckland. The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the pit completely. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eckland.
Welcome folks to the GreenValleyLake.com MX-5 World Tour. We are broadcasting round number 9 of season 7 live right here from Silverstone in the United Kingdom. Hi, I am Richard and with me is the usual team of Brian Corwin and Bill Zahn. Hi Brian.
How you doing, Richard? Second race of the day, but I'm more than ready to get going.
Excellent stuff. And hi Bill, how are you today?
Richard, I'm good. Looking forward to this race.
And our director for this race will be none other than the hardworking Giancarlo Lenzi. Well, Brian, this track is the historic track of the Silverstone Grand Prix. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, for those who aren't familiar with... my phone just went off, excuse me. Those who are not familiar with Silverstone, the track itself was built on a former World War II era air base, and it was home to the Formula One racing championship races and other racing events in the area. The track has 21 laps today, so we're looking at about 66 miles. It has a lot of different tricky corners with elevation changes, camber, and other things such as this. The track is 16 turns and it measures to about 3.142 miles or 5.057 kilometers, so it is a very long race today.
Thank you. And we are looking now at the time, and we see that we have about 4 or so minutes before the race starts. So Bill, let's have a quick look at the championship. It seems to me that Jan Freitas has got a little bit of a lead on the rest of the guys.
Right, as Richard Eckland said in his in-race interview last week, it really is Jan Freitas' to lose. He's 89 points ahead of his next competitor. But one mistake and they can all catch up. What's interesting is Richard Eckland, Sergio Mora, Amjad Yaman are all in a tight battle for second, so Freitas is right there if there's a mistake. Interesting to note, Jan Koemans is in an unusual position in 6th place. Now, it's always exciting when you have an underdog. It's hard to make a 3-time champion an underdog, but he's really set up himself for a dramatic charge to the crown. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him over the next 7 races to see if he can close it out. Not here today is Brad Wooden. He's made his way into 8th place in the standings. Uros Jerlenko is in the front row thanks to the quick 6 regrid. So he'll be, he's 9th in the standings, but he'll be on the front row. Sam McAleer's made his way into the top 10. And the driver to watch out for today, you won't see him in the top 10, is the mystery man, Oki Stokenberger. He's back. He hasn't been here for the last 3 races. He's down the standings because he hasn't raced very much, but he'll be starting on the pole today. Back to you, Richard.
Yeah, that's going to make for a very interesting race. We've seen some good speed from Oki Stokenberger in the past, so he'll be in there mixing things up with the guys at the front. Now, I do notice that Jan Koemans, underdog you mentioned, but he is currently topping the chart in the warm-up, so we're looking for a good race from him. Brian, what do you think will be the keys to this race?
Well, today I think it's all be about hitting your braking marks, your corner entry and exit, and kart positioning, because the track has a variance between very wide portions of the track and very narrow portions of the track that are very technical, with the winding nature of some of these corners here, especially in Maggots and Beckett's, if you're familiar with the track. I think what's really going to play a difference today, unlike some of the other tracks, is the pit strategy. Usually we see guys like Sergio Mora jump in early and try to outbeat people that way by jumping over them in the pits. But I think today it's all going to be about going as long as you can and then making a quick splash and dash and try to get to the end as late as possible, but also be first in line to win the race today. I think having a light car at the end is really going to pay a big difference today at Silverstone.
Thank you, Brian. And that segment was brought to us by Cozy Cabins in Green Valley Lake. Please visit their website at cozycabinsgreenvalleylake.com. Now, folks, we have about 2 minutes left in practice. So, guys, I want to get some thoughts from you on this race. We've just heard from Brian that the keys to the race might be pit strategy and also being very consistent. This is a pretty technical track as we see the guys going around here. Some of them are having some troubles negotiating those fast sweepers, and we shall have to wait and see how it's all going to play out in the race. Bill, your thoughts on this race today?
I think this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Now, Koemans was the fastest qualifier, but he's going to be starting third. I really think the guy that's going to catch our attention is going to be Åke Stokenberger. He came into the series as a mystery man with little experience, but some amazing stats in the iRacing statistics page. And the series organizers talked to him before the season and said, "Look, you're new. We want you to behave." He said, "I will." What ends up happening in the first race? He gets taken out, no fault of his own, by the defending champion Richard Ecklund. So he's had some hard luck. He has the speed. He's going to start on the pole. We may see a wire-to-wire race today. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward for some fireworks up near the front. And Brian, we heard last week from Richard Ecklund saying that he's just racing for fun. He won the championship last year. He's not pushing that hard to win the championship this season. Do you believe him?
Absolutely not, and I'll tell you why. Several times throughout the season, whether it be Road Atlanta or Bathurst, we've seen him make some very aggressive moves towards the end of races. If he really didn't care, I think he would have maybe dialed it down a little bit. But then again, Richard Ecklund's not the type of person to dial anything down. He's a very intense driver. He says what's on his mind during the interviews, and he's a very quick. He can be kind of hot-headed even at times. It seems like on the track. We've seen him hit the wall at several tracks, trying to overdrive some of these corners. So the fact that he says he's not trying very hard, I just have a hard time believing it with the intensity and the aggressiveness that he drives with in these MX-5 races.
Yeah, those are my thoughts as well. Well, folks, they are starting to grid up right now, so we do have the grid ready. So, Bill, why don't you run us through the grid real quick as they get ready to start?
Okay, I can go through the top dozen, then maybe somebody can pick up after that. On the pole is Åke Stokenberger. Second is Juris Jelenko. Third is Koemans. Fourth is Richard Ecklund. Fifth is Sergio Mora from Portugal. Fifth. Sixth is Freitas, his Portugal mate. Seventh is Sam McAleer, defending Season 3 champion. Thomas Szabo in eighth. Timo Tuliano in ninth. Jake Tucker in 10th. Dexter Castro making his first appearance in the season in 11th. And Arthur Chan in 12th.
And in 13th place, Amjad Yaman, followed by Tom Rathy, Stefan Overgaard. 16th place, Kim Vater, and 17th, Benjamin Lanowet. Trevor Mack is next, and Simon Van Duyn. Joseph Aero, as they're starting the engines right now, in 20th place. So we might just leave it right there. Green flag has just flown. Åke Stokenberger leads them off in this race. Jelenko having a slow start, already overtaken right there by Jan Koemans. Richard Ecklund attacking Uros Jelenko right now. He overtakes. So a very bad start there, Brian, from Uros Jelenko. Sergio Mura passing as well.
Yeah, but you know who didn't have a bad start? It was Jan Koemans, and like we said, or Bill said, he had a very, very good qualifying, and it was only because of the quick six and the fact that he's had a few bad races. He went back to third in the start today. So with that being said, as we look as they go through Maggots and Beckett's to this windy S section of the track, we all go single file, and there's a pretty good average spacing between all the guys. So hopefully we can have a few conservative laps here before we start pushing through.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that Sam McAleer, who started in 7th, has improved his position, and he's in 6th place, but he's now under attack from João Freitas. João Freitas will make the move. He goes to the inside. He's trying to pass, but Sam McAleer will have none of it and hangs on to that place. So João Freitas at the moment in an unusual 7th place, and bear in mind that this is your championship leader. Mind you, Bill, still a long race to go, so they've started off very nicely, very clean, and we hope that it remains that way.
Richard, I just want to jump in real quick. We already had a change in the lead. Jan Koemans dove down the inside in that kind of SE section before the hard left, and now Jan Koemans under attack by Richard Eklund, and the pole sitter Oki Stogenberger is leading the pack on. A very aggressive move early on in the race on lap 1 even, but a very good one at that as it paid off in dividends. He now leads the race coming around to the start and finish line.
Yeah, a fantastic start by Jan Koemans. I think, Bill, Jan Koemans is hurting due to the fact that he's so far down the championship standings.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jan Koemans. He's in a white car this week. He must have had a little change of pace. I don't know if you guys are seeing that as well on your screens. Eklund is going to be very aggressive. This is going to be really interesting as we have Koemans, Eklund, Stokenberger, Mora in 4th, McAleer making a move up to 5th, Jelenko in 6th, Freitas in 7th, Szabo in 8th, Tulianen in 9th, and Dexter Castro in 10th. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, and I want to make mention of the fact, guys, that this has been a really, really clean start. All the guys are keeping themselves in check at the moment. We see João Freitas coming way back from 7th place, making a move on Sam McAleer there. Oh, they nearly touched going into Beckett's there, but I tell you what, Sam McAleer having a great race there, Brian. He is not letting people do what they've done in the past. So a great race from him, and lurking just behind João Freitas now, I'm seeing Tamás Szabo. So all the guys that we are used to seeing up front are all making moves, and it seems to me João Freitas is the big loser right here, Brian.
Yeah, and we've seen kind of similar starts to this right now. As it looks like Szabo and Freitas might have touched just a little bit. Maybe actually it looked like Szabo decided to give Freitas a little bit of room, knowing that they had to go into that S section up ahead. But back to my original point, Freitas has had a few starts where he started further back in the pack and kind of just waited for people to thin out and spread out, and then he made his move. Unfortunately, last week we know it didn't pay off because there was that accident with, I believe, one of the back marker cars. I can't think of who it was. I think it was Jonathan Keir. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, he flipped his car right in front of Freitas, and he had to come to a complete stop to avoid him, and that ended up costing him a high position. So hopefully he's able to avoid those kind of issues this week and play out his regular strategy of just starting how he starts and let it things thin out, and then make his attack later on in the race after the pit stops.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. He managed a 3rd place finish last week, even though he had that stop-start incident. But Bill, it seems to me that Freitas leading the championship, it's affected the way that he's racing. He seems to be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, Freitas in that red and green cozy cabin car, because of the quick 6, now he was 2nd fastest qualifying, but because of the quick 6 regrid, he's back in the midst of Sam McAleer and Tamás Szabo. Now those guys are experienced drivers, but they're not the most giving of drivers. Let me put it that way. They're more takers than givers. So yeah, I think João has really got to be careful, and I think he knows. I think he knows the drivers. I think he knows where it is, and it's early. It's early, so we'll keep an eye on him, see how he does. Meanwhile, Koemans is leading the race.
That is correct. Richard Eklund there, Brian, tried to make a move on Koemans unsuccessfully. But certainly he is ready to challenge, and look at Oki Stokenberger there, sitting in 3rd place, just ready to attack if any one of the two guys in front of him make one little mistake.
Yeah, Richard, I was looking at that move that Richard Eklund made as well, and I kind of got the feeling that he felt like he's kind of in a stalemate, because if he made a move against Koumans and then failed and he had to back off, that would give Oki Stokenberger a good run to get around him. Well, with that being said, right behind Oki Stokenberger, we got the very fast Sergio Mora, who's also in the same kind of position. If Oki Stokenberger was going to try and pass Richard Eklund and have to back off, that would give Sergio Mora the run he needs to get around him. So it's very early in the race. I think people are trying to avoid those stupid little mistakes and mind games right now as we see Richard Eklund go just a little bit wide and miss his corner exit mark. Like I said, like Bill said, even it's very early in the race, and you want to avoid those little lack of focus kind of mistakes that are going to cost you in the long run here at Silverstone today.
Yep, absolutely right. And I tell you what, 21 laps. We are on lap 3 right now. 21 laps, so a lot of laps to go still. But I just like the way all these top guys are running today. They're all very, very good. Makes for some interesting moves going to happen later on in the race. But Jan Koumans leading this race, and high time that he led a race as well. I think Jan Koumans, we know from in the past, Bill, that he likes to lead from the front.
Yeah, and he really has one speed. He hot laps the entire time, and you put him in the front, he's going to run. He won't pit till he's on fumes. Let's go and take a quick look. Interrupt me if anything happens up front. Let's go back and look at Jake Tucker in 10th place. He's in that pink Pepto-Bismol car. He's gotten around Dexter Castro, and Arthur Chen has also gotten around Dexter Castro. There's a nice little train going on here with Arthur Chen in 11th, Dexter Castro in 12th, Stefan Overgaard in 13th in that blue and white car. Amjad Yaman, now he's back in 14th spot. That's a long way back for the doctor. Tom Rathie, nice to see him still in the race after 4 laps. Benjamin Lanowet in 16th, Simon Van Doon in 17th, and 18th is Trevor Mack in that McDonald's looking car. 19th is Simon Van Doon, and Sky Willis in 20th. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Bill. Now, you mentioned Amjad Yaman. I've got the cameras on Amjad at the moment. He is way back in 14th place, which is rather unusual for Amjad this season. And the other driver just in front of him, which is Dexter Castro. I want to make mention of Dexter just quickly. Dexter has been away at school, college really, studying hard for whatever course he's doing. And he hasn't had much racing at all. He's returned he's returned for this race, and also he's going to partake in the CESCS race next week. So he's back into it, but obviously not having had much practice, he is a little bit down the order. But really surprising, Brian, that Amjad Yaman is so far back.
Yeah, Amjad's a very bright young man. He drives very consistently, and he knows what he's doing on the track. He does practice a little more, like he said earlier this season, than he has in the past. So it's kind of a shocker to see him so far back. But I think depending on what his strategy is in the pits, I do see him making up some of those positions. But I do fear that he might not get the kind of position we're used to seeing today with him being so far back.
Yeah, especially he's fallen a long way off the leaders. Talking about the leaders, let's go back to the front with Jan Koumans and have a look at what he's doing. His attitude today is, I'm going to win this race regardless, and catch me if you can. Richard Eklund behind him is actually struggling to keep up with him. He's a good half second back at this point in time. So it's going to be Jan Koumans winning or nothing by the looks of it. But Oki Stokenberger, now this guy is our mystery man. We say it every time. I don't know where he gets the speed from. He's completely unknown to everyone else, but he comes out, Bill, and he charges like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, he's running in third right now, but Sergio Mora has given him all he can ask for, and Sergio Mora is going to try to go on the outside, and Oki holds his line. That's nice driving by those two guys. Richard, I'm going to ask you and Brian a technical question. Do you think that this track, Koumans is going to be able to break the draft on this? Is there enough twisty sections for him to actually outpace Eklund behind him? Or do you think it's really Eklund can just hang on with these long straights? What do you think, Richard?
Well, I will tell you, the draft is not going to play a big role here at all. I'm finding that with the MX-5 on any track that is not like we saw last week, you need a long straight like we saw at Charlotte, where there's enough time for the draft to kick in. With these fairly short straights, the same at Sebring, we're finding the draft really does not play a part. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Like you said, I don't think there's enough straights. There's a few spots where you can call them straights, but they're not technically straights. But you're not going to get enough draft to make a difference. But what you can use the draft for is getting a little bit of a run on the guy behind you. And as much as I don't condone dive bombing, having some of these longer straights that aren't technically straights, or like more bends, it gets you a lot of speed loaded up on your car, and you have a potential to dive bomb or make a late braking point to try and make up time that way. Right now, it looks like Sergio Mora has forced Oki Stokenberger outside. He is going to try and take that position. It looks like he has a clean pass, but keep in mind up ahead we have a left-hand turn that will give Oki Stokenberger the favorable line if he can just outbrake Sergio Mora. Looks like he will. Sergio Mora and Oki Stokenberger had a nice back and forth there, Richard.
Absolutely. These guys have been at it for a little while. And Oki Stokenberger not giving an inch to Sergio Mora. Sergio Mora, let me tell you, is not slow. He moves now to the inside. Looks like he can get the move done as they come to a bridge corner. And Oki Stokenberger has a look on the inside, concedes the place because Sergio Mora clearly faster there. But at this, he's not giving up. So expect him to continue battling with Sergio. These two guys in the meantime are in third and fourth place, and there's a little break to the top two guys in first and second place as they come through that long bend. It's a complete U-turn there. They both nose to tail, so lots of action up front here, but in two little packs there, Brian.
Richard, I can't help but notice that the two guys that are racing up front were also the two guys involved with that first lap wreck last week at Charlotte Raceway. It's almost like Richard Eklund's trying to chase down Jan Koemans to give him a little bit of a love tap for what happened back there on the track. Needless to say, they're both having a very good race so far on lap 7, and this is like the kind of excitement we're used to in this series, having two people with bad luck running up front and making a very good show of it.
Nah, Richard's forgotten all about that, don't you think, Brian?
Not one bit there, Bill.
Hey, if we look back at seventh place now, it's McAleer has been passed by Freitas, so Freitas is up into sixth. But they're right behind the leaders. I mean, the next back. Tabazabo is back there, Tullian, and those guys are all in a nice battle back all the way back to 10th place to Arthur Chan. What a very, very clean race so far. I haven't heard any bangs or dents or anything. The drivers are doing a good job.
Yeah, you're certainly right about that, Bill, but, we could be putting the commentator's curse now. If you look from 5th place onwards, as you mentioned, there's a big pack there. You've got leading that group. You have got Yao Freitas really behind them, and then Sam McAleer. But just in front of them, you've got Uros Jelenko, who's really having a great race here today, Brian. He's caught up to Oki Stokenberger and Sergio Mora. With them battling each other, it's given him an opportunity. And he's right there. If any one of them make a mistake up front, he's going to be ready to pounce into third place.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, this used to be a former Formula 1 track. That's a little bit of a tongue twister there, and it's designed to have a certain kind of flow and a follow through to it, so it's kind of interesting to see these MX-5s kind of running these races. As we saw, I think it was Uros Jelenko dive down pit road, giving way to Sergio Mora and Oki Stokenberger. Richard, can you confirm that who it was that went down pit road just now?
Absolutely, Jelenko it is. So he's making an early stop here, Bill. This is very interesting.
Lap 8, I guess. I haven't done the pit window calculations, but I trust that Jelenko knows what he's doing here. So that's going to be, maybe he thought he was being held up by those drivers. He'll get in, run some clean laps because this track is so long. Lap traffic doesn't play as big a part as it would in a smaller track like Lime Rock or even the shorter versions of Road Atlanta, that type of thing. Back to you, Rich.
Okay. Now, guys, I want to put the cameras onto our friend Tom Rathy in the welcome in car. Let us let us hope something's happening at the pit exit. What's going on there, Brian?
Jelenko just crashed at pit exit, so apparently that wasn't a good idea.
Well, you gamble and you try to make up as much time as you can, but unfortunately, it looks like the pit crew are going to be running down the pit lane to push him back to the stall if the race marshals will allow it. If not, he's going to have to take that 2-minute tow, unfortunately, and lose a lot of time that way. Fortunately for Jelenko, this is a very long track, so he's not going to be hurting that bad, where like at a Lime Rock you lose 4 or 5 laps. Here he's only going to lose about 1 or 2, so there might be a chance of more accidents happen. He can make back some of those positions, Richard.
Yeah, well, that was really unfortunate. We thought he'd made a good move with that early pit stop, but that certainly backfired on him. Well, back to the racing. I was talking about Tom Rathy in the welcome in car. Bill, it looks like he is on track. He's got a good thing going. He is following just behind Arthur Chan, who is following Jake Tucker, who is following Amjad Yaman. These guys are a little way back from the main group, but nonetheless, our good friend Tom Rathy having a good race today.
Yeah, I've been watching those 4 drivers that you just mentioned, Tom Rathy in that red, white, and blue welcome in car. He's running right now in 13th place, but he's been in the battle with those other 3 guys, and there's good battling, even though they're spread out a little bit. There's good battling going on throughout the pack, even farther back. And I'll go take a look, see what I can find farther back.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I did notice there, Brian, that Amjad Yaman ducked into the pits for an early pit stop. So looks like some of the guys are taking that early pit stop, hoping to get some advantage there. But we'll see if he if he does better than poor old Uros Jelenko, as we still see Tom Rathy making some good putting down some good laps and staying in the race this time. Back to the front there, Brian, what are you seeing?
Well, it looks like Jan Koemans is starting to settle down and go into his little rhythm here, as Richard Eklund's slowly starting to fall behind, and it looks like Sergio Mora's also made up just a little bit of time on the 2 up front. It's not enough to be considered a threat for second place, but nonetheless, it looks like Richard Eklund's pace is just a little bit off from where he was at the beginning of the race. I just noticed that Uros Jelenko has fallen out of the server, so I think his day might be done out of frustration, but unfortunately, another weird ending result for one of the top well-known drivers in this series.
Okay, guys, we've got a good battle going on here between Oki Stokenberger and Sergio Mura, and lurking just behind them, we've got Jan Freitas and Sam McAleer. So this is a really good battle developing here. Sergio Mura has been unable to shake off Oki Stokenberger. In fact, he is now challenging for that 3rd place as they go into the last corner before the start finish. Jan Freitas pokes his nose in there as well. They go down the front straight, and Sergio Mura still leading.
Welcome to mankind,
Irish. Oki Stokenberger, Sergio Mura, they side by side going down to turn 1, which is Abbey. This is a fierce battle going on here, Brian.
Yeah, I also noticed Sam McAleer dived in right behind Jan Freitas because I guess the heat was getting a little too intense there. So we're looking right now at Oki Stokenberger and Sergio Mora. These 2 have been going at it for several laps, and they have not died down. This fire is actually starting to get a little bit bigger because these 2 guys have very similar driving styles. Oki Stokenberger's had some bad luck in the series, whether it be a UPS guy coming or maybe some contact with another driver. He hasn't raced every race this season, but when he has been here, he's been very quick. So Sergio Mora is putting down as much speed as he can to try and outrun the Oki Stokenberger, our mystery man here in the MX-5 World Tour.
And Oki's doing a great job. I'm pretty sure that Sergio Mora is thinking to himself, well, Oki Stokenberg has had a tendency to have some problems with other drivers in the past. This is not the case here today, but I'm sure that Sergio Mora would be a little nervous with Oki Stokenberger that close behind him. In the meantime, these other guys that were part of this battle, they've all pitted, so this is going to be interesting, Bill, to see how it all shakes out. But let's have a look further back. What are you seeing, my friend?
Well, I was looking at a battle farther back, but let me touch on this. Sam McAleer beat Yal Freitas out of the pits, so Sam is now running in 8th place, and I think when it all sorts out, he'll probably be running, I think, 5th. Freitas is behind him, and then Amjad Yaman, who pitted back on lap like 8 or 9, he's behind them. So that's where we are after the pit stops. Let me go back and find a good battle in the back for you.
Okay. In the meantime, I'm still watching this battle between Oki Stokenberger and Sergio Mura. Sergio seems, Brian, to get a little bit of a break, and then Oki comes back at him and starts to look to take that position back again. So these guys battling fiercely to what is in fact the 3rd place position. Tamás Szabo has now moved into 5th place, and he is not that far off these two, Brian.
Actually, yeah, I agree with you. I noticed that Szabo has been putting down some very consistent laps lately, and Oki Stokenberger is a big spin. He is going off the road towards the wall. It looks like he's going to have slight contact, but it might not be too much damage. What an unfortunate turn of events as that battle with Sergio Mora finally got to him. Oki Stokenberger, again, for the 4th or 5th time this season, is running into some bad luck, and that is going to cost him some time, as now it looks like he is towing back the pit road, Richard. That took me completely by surprise.
Yeah, this is what I was saying up at the top of the show, that some of these corners, they sweepers, but you have to be consistent getting through them. One mistake and, the wall is your best friend. So he's out of it right now and taking the tow. He'll have to pit. He didn't have a lot of damage, but or what seemed to be a lot of damage. But the big mover right now is Tamás Szabo. He's gone into 4th place now. Sergio Mura, by the way, must be breathing a sigh of relief that he doesn't have to continue battling with Oki there, Brian.
Yeah, I think so. And with that being said, I wonder if Sergio Mora is going to sit out here in hot lap for a while now, or if he's going to jump into the pits and try to come out with an even bigger area to race in. It's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do. But the fact that Sergio Mora now doesn't have to worry about Oki Stokenberger breathing down his neck, maybe he can relax just a little bit and find a groove, as it looks like Oki Stokenberger has left the server as well. His day seems to be over as well, Richard.
That's unfortunate, but that's the attrition that we have come to expect in these races with such a lot of fast guys. Tamás Szabo, it seems to me, is making up some time on Sergio Mura. Sergio has not pitted yet, which is unusual build. Normally he's one of the early pitters.
Yeah, I think he's just as comfortable where he is right now. I think this track is really playing into Jan Koeman's hands. Like we talked about earlier, if Eklund can't latch on to the draft, I think Koeman's is this, well, to put it simply, just faster. So every lap, Koeman's is inches a little bit farther away. And Jan is very good when it comes to pit stops. So I think Jan's going to run this thing as long as he can, come on in, take a perfect pit stop, and try to take it home from here. The pit stops are coming in. I'm watching Trevor Mack now in the McDonald's car has moved up to 8th place, but he's yet to pit. Stefan Overgaard's in 7th. He's yet to pit. Jake Tucker is in 6th. They're yet to pit. So once the pit cycle runs through, we'll know exactly where they stand. Yal Freitas is back in 14th, still behind McAleer, but of course there's a million guys in front of him that have to pit. So we'll back to go to you, Rich.
Okay, so what we've got now, Jan Koeman's leading this race. He's got a very, very healthy break on Richard Eklund. Richard is struggling to keep up with him. In fact, he's not keeping up with him. Jan Koeman certainly has the bit between his teeth. Right now, I want to put the cameras on the Eagle Nest Tavern car of Timo Tuliainen, right behind Tamás Szabo. There will be a battle happening here very shortly. Tamás and the Timo Tuliainen are following Sergio Mura. They are right 1 and 2 behind each other, so expect a battle to start here imminently, Brian.
Yeah, Timo Tuliainen has had some bad luck this season, but we know how fast he is and how consistent he can be. And the fact that he's keeping up with Tamás Szabo at a track like Silverstone is just showing me that maybe he's finally settled it down and he's starting to get back into a rhythm here, as he's all over the back of Tamás Szabo trying to get around Gareth Prentice, I believe that is, in the yellow MX-5. And it looks like they're also catching up to Sergio Mora, so I wonder if Timo Tuliainen just dived down pit road, so maybe he's going to try and play the traffic game here, as it looked like they were catching up to Sergio Mora, but now it looks like Timo Tuliainen has another trick up his sleeve. Richard?
Yeah, I was surprised by that, but it seems to me like the guys almost do not want to battle each other. The moment they get too close, they dive into the pits. But Tomas doing a great job here at the moment. He's behind Sergio, and Sergio is not that far ahead of him. Now, bear in mind, these two guys have not pitted. In fact, all four of the leaders, Jan Koolmans, Richard Eklund, Sergio Mura, and Tomas Szabo, have not pitted. Behind them, several of the guys have pitted. So we're going to have to wait until after the pit stops to see where these guys come out. Right now, I want to put the cameras on Stefan Overgaard, who no doubt would have run the previous race there. Brian, is that the case?
Yeah, he had a very difficult first race today. He was in the Corvette class, C2 for the Enduro Pro Series, and it looked like he got some contact with Yao Vast, the leader of that race, and spent a lot of the time in the pits. So I don't think fatigue will be a factor today, as he got a lot of chances to catch a breath and have a little bit of a break. And right now he's running in 7th place. There's nothing to be too sad about in the company that he keeps here in the MX-5 World Tour.
Yeah. Well, good luck to him. I hope he has a good race. We haven't seen a lot of him in this series. I think, Stefan Overgaard, we know him well. He's a fast driver. I think he's just, in these races for participation more than anything else. I'm just going one spot back from him, Bill, is one of your favorites. I know, Trevor Mack. Trevor Mack having a great race today. We remember how good a race he had last week. So he starts to become, he's starting to get some rhythm in the races that he's running and starting to get up near to the front there, Brian. Bill, sorry.
Yeah, Trevor really hasn't had the results that a lot of the pundits thought he would. He's a very good driver, but he just doesn't seem to have the speed this year. A quick note on the Timo Tuliainen pit. He came out just behind Sam McAleer, and he's in a tight battle with McAleer right now. And both McAleer and Tuliainen are ahead of our points leader, Jal Freitas. So Freitas has not been able to make up a lot of positions here. And with Koolmans running looks like a victory in his sight, things could tighten up. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, just got the cameras on Jal Freitas as you speak about him. He is currently sitting in 13th place. I'm not sure whether he's made a pit stop or not, but that Cozy Cabins car is not in its usual position, which is up near the front, Brian.
Yeah, I actually was looking at pit lane right now. It looks like Mihai Masisa and Skylar Willis, don't call her Skylar Willis, are all down pit road. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the exact battle you were looking at. Let me get caught up with you here, Richard.
Okay, well, I've got the cameras on Jal Freitas in a very unusual place at the moment in 12th spot. He is following behind Timo Tuliainen and Sam McAleer, who these guys are on pace. They've done their pit stops, I believe. Certainly, we know that Timo has done a pit stop, and so there's a battle brewing here between Sam. And just in front of Sam, we've got the youngster from South Africa, Heinrich Lawrence, who is in position 9, and he is making a good race. It seems like everybody's having a good race here today, Bill.
Yeah, I think Heinrich still has a pit stop to make. It looks like the guys who have yet to pit, of course, are our leaders, Koolmans, Eklund, Mora, Szabo. I think Overgaard is yet to pit. Tucker is yet to pit. So we get back to Trevor Mack currently running in 7th. I really think Mack is looking somewhere about 3rd or 4th when we lose some of those guys up in front.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. I've changed the camera now onto Jan Koolmans leading this race and leading it very, very well. As we see somebody ducking off into the pits, it could be Trevor Mack. Looks like the Trevor Mack car. Yes, that was Trevor Mack in the pits there. Jan Koolmans just crossing the start-finish line. Stefan Overgaard in the pits as well. So everybody's starting to make their pit stops right now. But getting back to Jan Koolmans, Brian, he is leading this race and doing a great job here at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to see this, because we know throughout the season he's had some very unfortunate endings to his races. If you think back to Road Atlanta when he hit the wall, and I believe it was Sebring Club, he had a little bit of trouble. And then also last week at Charlotte, where he had that lap 1 incident, it's very cool to see him up here almost, I would say, close to a couple 10 seconds even up ahead. Excuse me, I'm a little distracted for some reason. Anyways, Richard Eklund has fallen way off of his scent, and all he's doing now is just running out his laps, avoiding the traffic ahead of him, and making use of these pit straps as everyone's starting to go in now. We just have to wait and see what his strategy for pitting will be, Richard.
Yeah, interesting from Richard Eklund. By the way, Jan Koemans has got almost the whole length of Hanger Straight ahead of Richard Eklund. So even if he was to pit, there is no doubt that he would come out well ahead of Richard Eklund, who also has not pitted. But Bill, just a little mention of Richard Eklund. Now, he's running second in the championship at this point. If he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be still up near the front, particularly since we have João Freitas this far back at the moment.
Yeah, Freitas' performance today is certainly going to help the guys who are chasing him. Now, according to my iRacing scoring, I'm showing Koemans in third place, so he might have ducked in for a pit stop that I didn't see. I see Koemans running in third and Eklund in fifth right now. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing. So our the timing and scoring is showing Stefan Overgaard and Dujan Bolden as our leaders, but of course they have yet to pit. And I'm not sure if Trevor Mack has come in or not. I don't have it marked on my notes. I think he's running. Yeah, I think he has yet to pit. So I believe really we're looking at, there's Koemans back in front now. We're looking at Koemans as the leader, Eklund in second, and I think Sam McAleer is going to cycle through in third.
Yep, you could be right. It's always a little bit confusing for us in the booth here when the pit stops take place, because we don't have the luxury of live timing. We have to depend on the timing coming from iRacing, which is not that accurate. It only updates when the drivers cross the line. But certainly, Brian, Jan Koemans back in the lead of this race. Not sure whether he has done his pit stop at this point in time. Circumstances might suggest that he did do the pit stop.
Yeah, by now on lap 16 and with the length of each lap, I think it would be a stretch to say he hasn't pitted yet, seeing that about 90% of the field has. So with the lead he has over Richard Eklund, I believe both of them have passed, and we're just waiting for Dujan Bolden to cycle through at this point.
Yeah, and Dujan is the only person that is currently showing kind of out of place. Richard Eklund, which he's in showing as third place, he's most definitely in second place. And Sam McAleer in third place. Now, if Sam has made his pit stop, which I don't think so,
yes,
Bill,
no, he's
in a great position.
Yeah, so what you really have now is champions all at the top. Three-time champion Jan Koemans, last defending champion Richard Eklund in second. I believe Sam McAleer is going to cycle into third place. That's the season 3 champion. So there are all of your champions all together in the history of the series. Fourth, it looks like it's going to be Timo Tuliainen. Freitas is right behind. I think the real battle is going to be McAleer, Tuliainen, Freitas, Szabo. Are all within about 2 or 3 seconds of each other for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Back to you, Rich.
Yeah, and it's really, really good to see Timo Tuliainen in that Eagle Nest Tavern car. Number 10, up near the top again. He has had a season that I'm pretty sure he will be very unhappy with. He's now following. Wow, he has touched Sam McAleer. Sam McAleer
spins.
Is off. The commentator's curse works again. I'm really sorry about that. Sam did get a touch in the back. Thank goodness he did not hit anything. He's back on track right now, Brian. But, gee, that was bad.
Yeah, we're looking at the replay right now. Sam McAleer coming into turn 1 had all of the speed momentum, but those MX-5s are very tricky to control, and it looked like Timo Tuliainen got caught out just a little bit and maybe tapped him. I did not see from that current angle I had on him if there was any contact or not, but either way it was enough to get him to go around. As we saw, Thomas Szabo and João Freitas both moved through, so João Freitas is going to move up to, I believe, third place, followed by Thomas Szabo in fourth, and the two involved in the spin are going to move back to fifth and sixth, and maybe even farther back due to the speed they're going to lose trying to get back caught up to their momentum. But that was a very unfortunate accident, and we know how well Sam McAleer's been racing in the last couple of weeks, not not a good turn of events for him today.
No, I'm pretty sure Sam would be very unhappy about that. However, it doesn't seem as if they lost a position through that, or that they got a lot of damage. There was contact, most definitely. The Eagle Nest Tavern car hit Sam in the rear, just going through turn number 1, and it was most definitely contact, but a light contact because they were both moving at speed. So hopefully their race will continue and they won't be too unhappy. But Bill, you know, we were talking about Yao Freitas being that far back, and now look at him. He's at least in 5th place showing on our screens here, possibly higher at this stage, but coming back into contention.
Yeah, that's what it takes to win a championship, and if you can't win, a 5th place is certainly not a victory, but it's certainly going to make the guys who are trying to gain on them, it's going to make their job a little harder. That said, Amjad Yaman, who usually is a top 5, he's running in 12th right now. He's really struggling. Why don't I go back to you, Rich, and then we can come back to me for the back marker review.
Okay, great. Now, Brian, we can now confirm. Looks like the pit stops have shaken out, and Jan Koemans is most definitely leading this race and leading it with a great run. Richard Eklund is in 2nd place. Yao Freitas, that we just spoke about, is now in 3rd place. And Tamar Zabo in 4th place with Sam and Timo in 5th and 6th. So it looks like Yao Freitas has confounded us as critics and moved his way through into 3rd place.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very intense race nonetheless. I can't believe that Koemans is as far ahead as it says he is, but I guess that's the nature of the beast sometimes in these larger tracks. You get a good break from traffic, you get some really good breaks in the pit road, and it's really easy to just pull off and do your own thing. Again, very unfortunate for Sam Eckler. He's riding in 5th right now, trying to catch up to Thomas Zabo. It doesn't look like he got too much damage, but unfortunately, with the speed that Yao Freitas has, I don't see either of them catching back up, as right now it looks like Thomas Zabo trails the Yao Freitas by 4 seconds. I guess what it's really going to come down to now is, can Jan Koemans keep his car clean and avoid the back markers and just hold off Richard Eklund, which I think he'll have no problem doing here. And speaking of which, Richard, I think it's time to do the back marker salute with Bill's on. If you talk to him?
Yep, Bill, go ahead, my friend.
Okay, it's time for the 60-second back marker salute, brought to you by Eagle Nest Tavern in Green Valley Lake. Stop on in. Let's go and start with Jonathan Kerr in the 23rd position. We know him as the Roadster Loyalist. He's having a nice, quiet race. If we go up 1 spot from him, 1 spot forward from Jonathan Kerr is I'm just going to have to do this off the chart because my screen is frozen up, is Craig McKenzie. And there's Craig on my screen. Hey, he's in a nice new paint scheme for him in that old glory, red, white, and blue stars and stripes. Let's go up 1 more spot to 21st is Anthony Salentano. We haven't heard much from him. He's running in 21st. And right in front of him is the quiet top 20 finisher of George Fike. As we have a few minutes left, we'll go to 19th. We haven't heard much from Mihai Masison in the Bit Defender car there. And 1 more up from South America, Heinrich Lorenz, and we'll wrap up with our 17th place finisher right now, racing in 17th, Benjamin Lanowit. Benjamin is a amateur alchemist. Now, if I know what an alchemist is, I believe that's someone who turns lead to gold. So I hope that works out well for him. And if when he perfects that, I'll talk to me about buying some stock in the company. Back to you, Rich.
Well, somebody better let me know about that as well. I could use a bit of gold instead of all the lead that I've got. But back to the front there, Brian. What's happening?
Well, last time I checked, it looks like Richard Eklund trails behind Jan Koemans by 8.8 seconds. Can you believe that after the way that Jan Koemans has been racing for the last couple of weeks, Richard? Very, very strong showing here. It's almost like Koemans is a whole new person, and all of that bad luck's behind him. I don't want to jinx him, so let's move back to Yao Freitas, who's been making up time on Richard Eklund. He's had a good race as well, Richard.
Yeah, Yao Freitas in the Cozy Cabins car number 346 has had a very good race. He's coming around the final turn now Let's see what sort of distance is he to Richard Eklund. Just about the length of the front straight there. So I don't think he will catch Richard Eklund. Bear in mind, we are on lap 19 of 21. So the laps have run out, and certainly the race is in the closing stages. First, second, and third seems to be wrapped up at this point in time, with fourth place being held down by Tomas Szabo. He is way back from João Freitas. And going back to even fifth place, Sam McAleer, he was way behind Szabo. So there's a healthy distance, Brian, between all of the top five.
Richard, I'm going to jump back to 11th place right now, as it looks like Jake Tucker just went for a crazy ride coming around. I'm not sure what the last corner of that long bend is officially known as, but he went on the inside, jumped the curve, struggled for some grip. It looked like, I believe it was Dexter Castro and Sergio Mora were the ones that were contesting him for the position. They both went around him on the left side, taking us 3 wide, and Jake still couldn't get the grip back, so he went to the outside of the front start-finish line and barely got back on the track without hitting Amjad Yaman and Stefan Overgaard, who both passed him. Jake has dropped back, and then in turn 1, again, he went off, so there might be something wrong with Jake Tucker's car. He's struggling for grip, and he's going all over the place. Needless to say, he lost 4 or 5 positions in the process as we see him go off again, coming down this back straight here at Silverstone.
Yeah, well, Jake Tucker is well known for some very unusual moves. I remember a race at Summit Point where he was entering the pits and decided to abort the entry to the pits, jumped over a wall and got back on track as if nothing had happened. So he's no stranger to some really weird moves. He's currently following Stefan Overgaard, and like you say, he's lost a few positions, but just in front of Stefan, there seems to be quite a big battle going on for what would be the 7th, 8th, and 9th place. So we've got Amjad Yaman in the Charles Play car. Just in front of him, we have Dexter Castro and Sergio Mora, who we didn't mention for quite some time. He was actually in 3rd place for a lot of time, but right now, we have Sergio in 7th place, so he's fallen back. Dexter Castro, we must say, coming back from his studies and starting to re-enter racing, is doing a great job as he follows Sergio Mora just into turn number 1. And I think this is a very reasonable showing from Dexter on his first outing, Brian.
Richard, I'm going to have to break your train of thought real quick there. It shows that we're on lap 21 and Jan Koemans is going through Maggots and Beckett, so he's about the first 1/3 of the way through the final lap, and no one is around to even give him even a little bit of a fight. So I'll keep an eye on Jan Koemans. Continue describing the battles you were talking about, and I'll let you know when we get a little bit closer to the start-finish line.
Okay, yes, Jan Koemans certainly on the approach to a win here. I was just talking about Dexter Castro, who is now, we've got Amjad Yaman moving on Dexter. He does, in fact, take the place, and then he has to brake really hard to make it through the next corner. Sergio Mora, there's a big battle going on here between Dexter Castro and Amjad Yaman, but I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing Jan Koemans finish up. So back to you, Brian.
Yep, Jan Koemans is coming around. He's now past the 2/3 mark. There's only that last third section of this track left to go. It looks like Jan Koemans will be the race leader here, so I'm just going to stick with him a little bit longer as he finishes out this race. There's really no one even around. No back markers, no people challenging for position. So as we see with these last couple of turns, we will have our Silverstone Historic Grand Prix layout winner here in the Mazda MX-5 World Tour, Jan Koemans, with a outstanding finish today. He has nothing but praise coming from us up in the booth with what a run. He is coming around now to the last corner as we're going to jump back to McAleer.
Finishes in 2nd place. A great finish from Richard. That'll help his championship standings. João Freitas actually finishes in 3rd place. Tomas Szabo, I believe, finishes in 4th place. Whoa, as the guys really go into wreck mode. Bill, quite a good race from the top guys there, and doing their thing now as they all start to finish. Crazy stuff from these guys, all skidding and blowing engines and what have you at the end of this race, Bill.
Yeah, I was watching the battle that we were had an eye on there when we cut away to Kuma's victory between Yaman and Castro. Castro got into the back of Yaman's and put him in the wall. I don't think we want Amjad Yaman in the booth today, boys. He is steaming.
Okay, well, everyone is starting to finish off their race now. I'm pretty sure most have passed the start-finish line. So we are going to take a short break, and on the other side of the break, we'll come back with all of the standings in this race. Welcome back, folks, to the GreenValleyLake.com MX-5 World Tour, where we saw a good race, particularly in the early stages, and then towards the end, it seemed to be just follow the leader sort of thing. But let us give you all the standings, and to take us through the first 10 or so is Brian Corwin. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, what can we say about Jan Koemans? He won the race today fair and square, and there was no one that had any kind of hope of beating him today. Followed By second place finisher Richard Ecklund, he had a great race today, followed again by João Freitas. He started a little ways back, but he was able to come in third. Thomas Zabo was in fourth. Sam Mackler came in fifth. Timo Tuliainen has upped his results a little bit today. He comes in sixth, followed by Sergio Mora in seventh. Stefan Overgaard in eighth. Jake Tucker in ninth. And Trevor Mack has a 10th place finish, so another good result for Trevor Mack. Let's go to Bill.
11th place, Simon Van Doon. 12th, Amjad Yaman. He was running probably 8th before Dexter Castro spun him. 13th, Benjamin Lanouette. 14th, Tom Rathy. Nice to see him get to the end of the race for once. 15th, Heinrich Lawrence. 16th, Duljan Boldrin. 17th, Arthur Chan. 18th, Mihai Masisa. 19th, George Fike. And 20th, our rookie, Anthony Celentano. I'll just finish this out and throw it back to Rich. 21st, Craig McKenzie. 22nd, Ben Tucker. 23rd is Jonathan Kerr. Dexter Castro in 24th. I think he parked it, felt a little guilty after spinning Onjed, so he's going to finish a lap down. Kim Vitar, I'm not going to sing Darth Vader's theme on this one, in 25th. Joseph Aro, a quiet finish. I didn't even know Joseph was in the race today. Sorry, Joseph will get to screen time next week. 26th, Skylar Willis in 27th. Garth Prentice, Jurin Yursum, that's his first race, and I'll learn your name next week, buddy. Oki Stokenberger, the mystery man, finishes 30th, and last is Yuris Jelenko. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Bill. Well, guys, we have a few issues here. Our director has to leave us very shortly, so I want to get the thoughts from the co-commentators, and then we will have to close the broadcast. We will not be having any interviews today. So, Bill, what did you think about this race?
Well, for viewers who are new to the series, welcome to what the series was like for the first 4 seasons, with Jan Koemans dominating the race. Today was truly a last-to-fast type deal, where Koemans finished last in the race at last week, and a victory today. So he's going to close a little bit of difference, but João Freitas, 3rd place. Boy, that's a nice job from him again. Back to you, Rich.
Okay, and Bill, what were your thoughts? Sorry, Brian, what was your thought?
Brad, Bill, Brian, that's all the same, right? Well, you know, I was a little shocked at the finish that Amjad Yaman had. I was expecting a little bit more for him today, but needless to say, that's just how racing goes sometimes. And I think he had a good race when all the dust and smoke settles down. You can't be too upset with where he finished. Jan Koemans, on the other hand, really impressed me with all the bad luck he's had lately. Seeing him win by such a dominating margin has just really entertained us all, and put on a really good show for all the viewers that are new for the series as well. So congratulations to Jan. My other thought was João Freitas. I think he could have done a little bit better, but I'm not going to have any doubts about his talent or skill going on this season. So very good race overall, Richard. I really enjoyed it, and I was glad to be part of the team once again.
Thank you for that, Brian. Well, folks, we are now going to close up this broadcast. There are a whole bunch of people and organizations that we want to thank, particularly our sponsors, Cozy Cabins, Eagle Nest Tavern, and the Welcome Inn Bed and Breakfast. Bill Zahn, we thank as well. There are a whole bunch of software and hardware people that we thank for all of their good stuff that we use. Eric Ekholm for the music, as well as Casey Lalonde for all the music. Folks, the upcoming races that we have, don't be afraid to tune in tomorrow for the Roof Euro Trophy at Silverstone National. Also, the Northwest Majors race at Sebring International with GT cars. Green Valley Lake is back next week at Zolder Alternate, and the big one in the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series next week at Sebring International. That is it from us tonight, folks. Thank you for watching, and we want to ask you to race hard, race clean, and we'll see you somewhere on the track.